Morning, everybody. We're off to a quick painting job for a relative. He's got one room. It's the same color. It's where knowing a handyman comes in handy, because you can't really call a painting company. They're not really going to come out for one little quick job. And that's my niche. When you got a bunch of little things and you can't just call a contractor. But I guess I'm not really going to do handyman coverage today, I don't think. I'm going to rant about addiction recovery. A little bit of plug for my other channel, but just, it's in general good to know, even if you're not an addict. And I'll probably tell you why somewhere along the way. But when it comes to this stuff, there's three main basic questions that need to be answered correctly for successful recovery. First is, what substance is an alcoholic addicted to? It's not alcohol. I'll get into the answers here in a minute. The second question is, what is it that an alcoholic, an addict, which is the same exact thing, crave? What do they crave? And it's not their drug of choice at all. And the third one is, what is the obsession of the addict for? And that also is not the drug. And I'm going to summarize these. I write them out in long form in the books and whatnot. The alcoholic is not addicted to alcohol. And it has to do with the physiology. And this isn't going to get too sciencey. It's like 8th grade health class level stuff. But I'll give you the short and skinny. I won't get all technical. So when alcoholics drink alcohol, or when anybody drinks alcohol, the liver transforms it into a chemical called acetaldehyde. And that's the poison part of that process. So pick your poison part. Now the poison floats around, and in everybody, it eventually hits the liver for a second round and transforms into a chemical called acetate, acetic acid. And that's the form that gets kicked out of the body. Now, in an alcoholic, they transform the alcohol into the poison twice as fast. And then they transform that poison into the expellable form, acetate, twice as slow. So we'll just say you got 4 times the amount of poison floating around in the alcoholic. Now here's the whopper. All that acetaldehyde, when it reaches the blood-brain barrier, crosses, when it does this in a normie, it makes them feel like shit and they quit. The difference is, in an alcoholic, their brain, this is why it's sometimes called a brain disease, but their brain will turn all that excessive poison into a chemical called tetrahydro, what is it called? It's abbreviated THIQ. Tetrahydroisoquinolines. Anyways, THIQ is basically opium. They're using quinolines and all sorts of drugs these days, medically. You know all about them. So, your alcoholic isn't addicted to alcohol. They're addicted to opium. It's a totally different drug. That's why they walk around going, everybody else is drinking, why can't I? Nobody's told them you're not even addicted to alcohol. And it takes a certain amount of drinks to get that opium effect, so that's why they can't stick to just a couple drinks. Because that's not the high they're looking for. When people drink, they're looking for a certain effect. An alcoholic is not looking for the effect of alcohol at all. They're looking for the opium effect. So that's why when they try to test the waters again, they keep on having their 2 little drinks, but it's not doing the trick. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a different effect than what a normie is. A normie's happy with just a buzz from alcohol, or even getting drunk off alcohol. But an alcoholic is not. They want the opium. So therefore, they're an addict, right? So let's jump into what does the addict crave? And for that, it's actually really simple. That's why the name of the channel is Simply Sober. So everybody knows that drugs give you a chemical reward. The reward, hold on, let's see where I'm going here. The reward center of your brain lies smack dab in the middle of your reptilian brain, your caveman brain, your survival brain. And what happens is, the way that part of your brain is designed to work is when you have all your survival essentials fully satisfied, like quality water, quality sleep, all these things you need to survive, quality food, homeostasis, all the health nut stuff. When that stuff is satisfied, so is your caveman brain. I like to call the caveman brain a scaredy cat. And you feel darn good because it gives you a reward when you have all the stuff you need. But a drug can replace that. You don't gotta go exercising or nothing, eat healthy or clean. You get all of that stuff just from a shot or a hit or whatever it is. And that replaces your survival essentials. So what happens when the drug is taken away? Well, what your survival brain associated with your survival essentials goes away too. So it starts panicking and thinks you're dying because all of a sudden, poof, all your water, food, sleep, it's all gone. That's why everybody feels like they're about to die. Plus your body is just full of toxins. It feels like the flu. It pretty much is, because all the flu is your body's full of toxins and it's getting rid of it. That's why withdrawal and everything's a lot like flu-like symptoms. Anyways, where was I? And that's what the craving is. Your body associated, it knows the way to get rid of all that I'm going to die feeling, the anxiety, and just the feeling like crap is just to take another hit. Because it's an extreme, nasty feeling. But it knows if I take another hit or two, if I get high again, it's going to go away like that. It's going to fix it. That's why they call it a fix. Is this making sense, y'all? Alright, now for the difficult one. Because everybody thinks the obsession is for the drug. And while you're withdrawing, yeah, you obsessively think about it. Hold on, I gotta figure out where I'm going here. Alright, it's a few hours later. Where was I? Cravings. So cravings are the compulsion. You're compelled to use because you've become dependent on the drug for the signal that you have all of your survival essentials fully satisfied. When you're using the chemical, or it's even a behavior too, will give you a massive high, at least for a little bit. It signals to your caveman brain, your scaredy cat, that you got quality food, quality sleep, quality water, your chemistry is in balance, your body chemistry, you know. Brain chemistry isn't what they say it is. It's always balancing itself out if you let it. Excretion of toxins. Now not just bowel movements, which means exercise, sweating, all that normal health stuff. And so what do you do to get rid of the cravings? I literally just said it. You give your body what it wants. That's what it really wants. It just wants your survival essentials instead of the imposter that triggers your reward center to think it has all the survival essentials. It's pretty simple. And the cravings go away pretty quick. They don't last for the rest of your life. Like, you can get rid of them in a couple weeks, few weeks. And that's the compulsion. And that's also that association with your survival and the drug is what most call the addict obsession, the repeated thoughts of using. That's just it just has to do with that, but that's not really the obsession. Here's the kicker. And there's things in place to satisfy all these things. But the obsession. How do I explain the obsession? It's not as repetitive thought related as you'd think. It has more to do with your herd identity. So if you think of it not in an individual scale, but on a macro scale as a population, it gets a little easier. And I kind of stumbled across this as I was talking to a client once, and she asked me what, like every normie asks, why can't they just stop? And I asked her, well, do you drink? She says what everybody else says, yeah, on occasion, socially. I'm like, all right. This is, I don't know, I was on a roll when I was talking to her, but I went on this big rant, and I'm like, all right, let's just pretend that you don't have a problem with alcohol, you're a normie, right? It's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, let's just pretend that you couldn't drink not a drop. Like, if you're on some kind of life-saving medication and you weren't supposed to drink on it at all, you die. Let's pretend you couldn't drink a drop for a year. How would you feel about it? And before she even answered, I was like, just before you say anything, hear me out. You can't drink on your birthday, New Year's Eve, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, and I just went on and on for a long time. Tailgating, football games, sporting events, family dinners, just on and on and on, and all these instances where there is alcohol. And I told her, I'm not saying you have a problem, and I'm not saying that most people who drink at all these things has a problem with drinking. What I'm saying is like, that substance is everywhere and being used all the time by human beings. Like, if you were an alien looking down, they'd be like, what's up with this Jolly Juice that they have to have at every social event? You know what I'm saying? It's a social thing. The obsession isn't just with the alcoholic. It's with the whole damn population. The alcoholic just happens to have a problem with it. That's the great obsession. You feel me? So they walk around, and this applies to other drugs too, because drugs are everywhere. I don't know if you've driven up to a gas station or a Walmart lately. You can smell marijuana everywhere. And if you're in the circles, there's cocaine everywhere. There's drugs everywhere. You can spot them a mile away if you're a user. And they are everywhere. Rich people, poor people, it doesn't matter. Drugs are absolutely everywhere. But the thing is, then, like, say an alcoholic tries to sober up, well, they're still watching all these people at all these social events having a good time using their long-lost love. They're getting cooked, basically. Everybody else is using this thing and getting off on it, but they can't. So that is the obsession, and that's where, like, support group meetings come in and stuff like that. But the problem is you can't just address the obsession or the compulsion. You got to do it both at the same time. Because if you're just going to meetings, but you're not doing the survival essentials correctly, you're going to leave that meeting and crave. Every night you go, you're going to go there, feel good while you're in the new social, or in the new sober herd. And the minute you go home, you're going to lay down and be like, I'm craving, because something's missing in your health. And that's basically it. And I just explained it to you in, I don't know, freaking 10 minutes. But ask anybody, even a counselor. Ask them. Not to mention the great obsession thing, especially for alcoholics, is they're watching everybody drink, but it's not even the drug they're looking for. And that's why sorry, something's flapping around. I got a ladder on my roof. That's why the hell was I gonna say? You see alcoholics easily graduate to popping painkillers and doing heroin, because that's what they're doing. It's the same drug. You know what I mean? So that's that in a nutshell, man. I mean, there's more to it, but like I said, ask anybody what substance is an alcoholic addicted to. They're going to give you the wrong answer. I don't care how many treatments they've been to, or even if they're a counselor or a doctor. Go ask. Please do. Ask them that question. What's an alcoholic addicted to? What substance? What does an addict crave? They're going to give you the wrong answer. And what is the obsession of the addict for? They're going to give you the wrong answer. And I'm sure you've noticed by my explanation, these are the basic fundamentals of recovering from addiction. And they're really quite simple. But if you don't do it correctly, and it's not a whole lot, but if you don't do them correctly, you're going to think everything doesn't work. And you're going to lose faith. And quite frankly, that's kind of what happens until you hit another bottom and you find Jesus, and he opens your eyes pretty much kind of to what I just said. And when you're not in perfect balance and you're not around all sober people or whatever, when you're a little bit off your square, you got Jesus right there to get you through it until you get back in sync. And that's actually the key. That's what brought me. You got to get out of that fear state to find Jesus. I mean, sometimes he comes when you're down and out, but to keep him on a daily, you can't be in your fight or flight, a subtle fight or flight, because your basic essentials aren't actually, because you're eating Burger King and drinking pop all day and not sleeping right because you're up on your phone zapping your brain with radiation and all this junk. You know what I mean? Let's see if I can show you. I'm going to show you something here quick, just because I'm nearby. Hey, you see that guy? See that? That's kind of a small one, actually. Now, hold on a second. You know what that is, right? That's your little 5G towers. Those suckers are up every mile or two now. Everywhere. Everywhere around the planet. No one's ever seen one go up. I sure haven't. Look what's at the bottom of it. Look at that. So you know what those do, right? You know what those do? Those are supposed to radiate all those oodles and oodles of information that sends all that junk to your phone and computers and anything smart. Even those lights on the freeway right there, they all got a little nodule on the top of them now. And the new cars, your new car will pull you back on the road when you're falling out because they can track you on that. That power station is how much energy they pump out. You know how much radiation that is? It sends a whole movie to your phone through a brick wall. So I'm not saying with the you know what, people aren't getting sick. I'm just saying it's not some virus that gets transmitted. You see what I'm saying there? Transmitted via spit. It's in all the tech. And if you don't believe me, check this out. If you remember, they initially said that the you know what was a coronavirus. Not to mention corona means the sun, and the sun radiates a bunch of electromagnetic radiation. The coronavirus. Now look up what year coronaviruses started pounding on people. When it was founded, when the coronaviruses were founded. Then look up what year people started getting routers in their house. It's pretty simple stuff, man. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. Everybody's pumped for it. Everybody wants it bad. Give me more tech. I love this stuff. I mean, I use mine a lot too. You know what I'm saying? I'm hooked. Not as much as most. And I use mine a lot for work and leisure and everything. But I mean, even the other day I was at this Chinese place and I left my phone in my car, or I probably would have been on it. The place was dead empty. And there's this dude waiting in there, just one person, the whole place waiting for his pickup order on his phone, talking. Next chick comes in. She looked like she was in a hurry, like Uber Eats or something. And she gets on her phone. I like made a comment about how dead it was in there. The girl didn't even hear me. And then she had a question. Anyways, the third person walks in, sits down right on their phone. And everybody wonders why they're getting sick. Okay, come on, dude. People are kind of... Are you serious right now? This has been kind of happening the whole way home. There's people like being douchebags. Anyways, it's just normal common sense health stuff. You don't. And the more you dig into it, and I get it, people don't want to dig into it, especially cell phone stuff, because they don't want to know how bad it is. Just like if you're an alcoholic, you don't want to know how bad you're doing. You don't go to the doctor for them to tell you that you should stop. I get it, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's some bad news. Even when it was just 3G, they had to implement in the manual of laptops and cell phones that it says right in the manual, warning, do not hold within 3 inches of your body. Like, don't put your phone to your head, and it's a phone. And laptops, like literally named to put on your lap, not within 6 inches of your body. Warning, right in the manual. Nobody reads the manual, though. They just press power and start going. And then you wonder why everybody has all these heart problems. They want to say it's from the vax. And don't get me into that. That's a whole nother book. But when you lay down in bed, where do you put your phone? I'm just saying. You gotta think, man. Everything in moderation. So yeah. It kind of makes these things not look so bad, huh? I'm just going to repeat myself. If you saw that big energy station, that thing, that cargo tanker size energy station, is at the bottom of every one of those towers. Every one. I'm sure it's all solar and wind generated. And then they tell you about climate change and how they have to basically reduce the population. I'm telling you straight up, they're killing you off. Oh man, Jiao took off in her car again. Hope she didn't get taco shells. That's what I just got. I think she had an ortho appointment. She's finally driving herself. Good for her. We need her moving around. Anyways, I'm going to take a nap and get ready for round 2 of the day when everybody comes home.